Hi there, this is just a short presentation to explain teachers' salaries in England. If you're thinking of becoming a teacher in a secondary school, this is for you. It's for NQTs and people interested in teaching. Okay, let's take a moment to look at teachers' salaries in England for 2023. This is the most up-to-date information that I have for you. Here they are. So these are classroom teachers' pay scales. These are for state schools in England. Not for private schools, by the way. Private schools normally have their own pay scales, and obviously that would depend on the individual private school. So if you're a brand new teacher, fresh out of university, with your PGCE or your degree in teaching, the likelihood is that you're going to be offered a starting salary of £28,000 per year on that M1 scale. It is possible to negotiate with your head, possibly if you turn up for interview and you've got a little bit more experience in your subject or area, or you've got a little bit of teaching experience somewhere along the line, you possibly could start on M2 or M3. But like I say, if you're new to teaching, likely you're going to start on that M1 scale. You normally move up the scale each academic year. You go up to M2, M3 and so forth, and after sort of 6 to 7 years you'll find yourself on that upper pay scale end of £38,810, and you can only stay at that range there as a classroom teacher. So if you take on no further responsibility, that's kind of your maximum pay scale that you would get within the classroom. However, there is the possibility of moving up to the upper pay range scales of U1, U2 and U3. Once you reach M6, you can apply for your U1 threshold, your upper pay range threshold, if you meet the skill level descriptors. It's something that you normally negotiate with your head, and you have to prove that you've achieved certain things within the school. And then after a couple of years you can apply for U2, and then you can also apply for U3, and then of course when you're on U3 you're earning 43,685. Let's just have a quick look at what you would take home then as a pay. Bear in mind I haven't taken off anything for student loan repayments or any pension. So if you were on the £28,000 take home, you would take home £1,921 per month, just to put it in perspective for you. And of course, M6 scale, if you're on that, 38,810, you'd be taking home £2,534 a month. And if you were on that upper pay range after a period of time, you'd be taking home 2,810. Like I say, that's without your deductions. Of course, if you pay your pension, that's going to take a big chunk of that off there for you. And of course, if you've got your student loan, you'd also have to be paying that back as well. I used the salary calculator for the UK. There's a website there to calculate the salaries there. Also, a quick link there to the Get Into Teaching for more information about teachers' salaries in England. Okay, so let's just take a look at something called TLRs, that's teaching learning responsibilities. Sometimes within schools you'll get given extra responsibility, and of course if you've got extra responsibility you're going to get paid for it. So for example, if you were head of department, you're going to get some extra payments for that. Head of department jobs normally become available after possibly 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on your experience and how determined you are to sort of go up the ladder, if you like, within your particular school. So let's have a look at the teaching and learning responsibility payments. So payment 1, that normally is like head of department jobs, and there's a minimum of 8,706 and a kind of maximum on that role of 14,732. It varies because of course departments might vary in size. The role might have a big department with a lot of people working in it, say for example a maths department, which would probably attract a higher TLR payment as opposed to say a business department, which might be smaller. So it really does depend. Then you've got what's called a TLR payment 2. So they're the kind of roles with smaller responsibility, perhaps like a second in department, something like that, or overseeing a key stage for your particular subject. They attract payments somewhere between £3,017 and £7,368. But the TLR1 payment and TLR2 payments are normally paid with extra responsibility. So let's just put that into some kind of context for you. So after your sort of 5-6 year period, perhaps in that school, you could be on your M6 scale, and you saw on the previous slide that attracts a salary of 38,810. Then, of course, you could be on the TLR1. Let's take the maximum you could possibly get. Let's say you're managing a really large department. So TLR1 attracting the salary of 14,732. That would give you a total salary of £53,542, which is very nice. And of course, if you were an experienced teacher and you also were top end scale there, where you got your upper pay 3 scale, of course, that goes on top of the 53,000, so that would take you up to a salary of 58,417, and a take-home pay of £3,577 without any pension or student loan deductions. Very nice, thank you. It's a good salary that for a teacher, but that's the teaching and learning responsibilities that you can also get in the teaching profession. So I think it's important just to make you aware that there is also a leadership pay scale within schools. I'm not going to go into too much depth about it because this presentation is really for NQTs, newly qualified teachers, or people who are interested in perhaps starting a career within a secondary school. But there it is. There's the pay scale for lead practitioners, ranging from 44,000 right up to 67,000. These are for roles like deputy heads, assistant heads, and heads themselves, of course. But of course, we're not at that point at the moment. We were just talking about pay scales in secondary schools. But there you go, just to make you aware that there are sort of the dizzy heights of the lead practitioners' salaries. So I hope you found this short presentation on pay scales for secondary schools helpful and useful in understanding how much a teacher does get paid. It's important to note that there's also a different pay scale for teachers in inner London. They get paid a little bit more. I don't think the salaries are too bad for teaching once you've done a few years and maybe taken on a bit of extra responsibility. The average wage is pretty good, so it's not too bad at all. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, just put a comment in. I'll try and answer them. If there's any other type of video that you would like me to do with regards to being a newly qualified teacher or getting into teaching, I'm more than happily do that. So leave a comment as well. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you have found that useful.